Where's the card?
Mas respeito, sou eu tão próprio.
Trying to be a hero?
Gotta keep them separated.
A big misunderstanding.
My favorite personal.
It's the pole.
But I gotta fucking...
Talk to me, okay? Motherfucker! Oh, Abel fucking told me!
Let's go.
Hip. Every moment.
What the fuck is this?
I owe you.
Got eye.
Cover me!
Whoever's in there. The Masters family.
Turn challenge. Hey, man.
That's meant to challenge me.
Don't break a mistake.
What's up, nephew?
I got shot in the fucking leg. All right, Rock, I'm gonna check on my dad. Here with my family.
I'm here for you. Operative or a fan. People who try to fuck up that. Well, if it is, just go and leave. Know how important this town is. Park ranger. I'll lose everything. You fucked with the amount. I'm bored with him. Lay down, an asshole. And most of all,
It's just another Mansell's vacation.
Hey guys, today we're diving back into the world of unassuming family men with a very particular set of skills and a fondness for cat bracelets. That's right, we're dissecting the much anticipated Nobody 2. If you thought Hutch Mansell had hung up his brutal tendencies for good after the first movie, well, you clearly haven't been paying attention. This sequel wastes no time in pulling our favorite auditor back into the fray, proving that once you've cleaned up a few too many messes, the messes just keep finding you. I put a lot of work into these, so if you like what you see, a like and a subscribe is always appreciated. No worries if not. We open with Hutch, trying his best to live that idyllic suburban dream once more. The sound of birds chirping is almost too perfect, and the smell of freshly brewed coffee practically wafts through the screen. He's at the breakfast table, a newspaper spread out, a picture of domestic bliss, albeit one where you still kind of expect him to snap at any minute. His son, Blake, is practicing some impressive martial arts moves in the backyard. Much to the exasperation of his wife, Becca, it's clear the Mansell household isn't entirely back to normal, whatever that even means for them anymore. The calm, however, is short-lived. A generic-looking delivery van pulls up, and a package, far too unassuming for the trouble it contains, is left on their doorstep. The package, it turns out, is a ticking time bomb of bad news, specifically for Hutch's attempts at a quiet life. Curiosity, as they say, killed the cat, but in Hutch's case, it usually just leads to a lot of broken bones, mostly other people's. He picks up the package, its weight feeling heavier than it should for something so small. The wrapping is nondescript, no return address, just a single, unsettling symbol scrawled on the brown paper. Becca eyes him, already sensing that the normal chapter might be closing prematurely. He carefully slits the tape with a kitchen knife, the mundane act a stark contrast to the ominous feeling building in the room. Inside, nestled on a bed of shredded paper, is an antique pocket watch, its silver casing tarnished, its face cracked. It's a relic, clearly not something you'd pick up at your local flea market without a story. But then, he spots it, a small, folded note, almost hidden beneath the watch. The handwriting is elegant but chilling, a string of symbols he doesn't immediately recognize, but the meaning is clear as day to him. An invitation, or more accurately, a summons. The sound of the watch ticking, though likely just his imagination, seems to fill the kitchen, a stark reminder that time, and his past, are catching up. He knows this isn't a friendly reminder from an old acquaintance. This is a declaration of intent, a whisper of a forgotten war reigniting. So, much like your Wi-Fi router after a good reboot, Hutch heads straight to his underground lair, otherwise known as his surprisingly well-equipped basement office. Clearly, he didn't just spend his retirement perfecting his dad bod. He has all the gadgets, the secure lines, and what looks like enough burner phones to start a small telecommunications company. He's hunched over a laptop, the glow illuminating his determined face as he cross-references the cryptic symbols from the note. The silence down here is heavy, broken only by the soft click-clack of the keyboard and the whirring of hard drives. He's tapping into databases that probably don't exist on Google, delving into the shadowy underworld he thought he'd escaped. He makes a quick, coded call, the kind where you don't say much but convey everything. The static on the line only adds to the tension. A familiar, gravelly voice answers. It's his half-brother, Harry, who, much like a boomerang, always seems to find his way back into Hutch's orbit. Harry, ever the pragmatist, immediately understands the gravity of the situation. Looks like someone found your forwarding address, big brother, Harry quips, a hint of dark amusement in his voice. And they're not sending you a fruit basket. The world is about to get a lot less quiet for Hutch Mansell. Harry, bless his cotton socks, is always on the pulse of the underworld. Even if his pulse itself sometimes seems a bit erratic, he's on the secure line, looking like he's just rolled out of a dumpster. But his mind is as sharp as a freshly sharpened blade. He pulls up some intel, displaying a blurred, grainy image of an insignia on his screen. It's the exact same symbol from Hutch's mysterious package. This, my friend, is the calling card of the Crucible, Harry explains, his voice dropping to a serious tone. They're not just some street thugs. They're a global network, a sort of auditors guild if you will, but with a much stricter code of conduct. And you, my dear brother, have apparently violated several of their unwritten rules. Hutch listens, absorbing every detail. The casual mention of rules almost laughable given his own chaotic approach to justice. The Crucible, Harry elaborates, sees themselves as the supreme arbiters of the underworld, maintaining a delicate, often bloody balance. They operate in the shadows, their influence far-reaching, their methods ruthless. And now, they've turned their discerning gaze on Hutch, presumably because he's been freelancing a little too enthusiastically. The clang of a distant bell seems to echo Harry's words, signaling that Hutch's past escapades have finally caught up with him, big time. It's not just a personal vendetta, it's an organizational one, and those are always the me-SSIST. You can't just send Hutch Mansell, we're watching you card without expecting him to become slightly less neighborly. Predictably, the Crucible doesn't believe in subtle warnings. As Hutch heads into his garage, probably to grab a wrench for some light home improvement, the peace is shattered. The garage door suddenly slams shut, plunging him into a semi-darkness, and then, like clockwork, multiple masked figures emerge from the shadows. These guys aren't your typical goons. They move with precision, clearly trained, but they've made one fatal error. They brought a knife to a Hutch fight. The first attacker lunges, and Hutch, with a fluid, almost bored motion, parries, grabbing a nearby wrench. The crack of metal against bone is sickeningly clear, followed by a grunt of pain. It's like watching a master chef prepare a meal, only the ingredients are human bodies and the meal is a lesson in pain. He uses everything at his disposal. A rake becomes a spear, a toolbox a blunt weapon. Even a garden hose gets involved in a truly creative disarming maneuver. The sounds of punches connecting, bodies hitting concrete, and the guttural cries of the assailants fill the confined space. He's moving with a primal efficiency, each strike calculated, each block perfectly timed. By the time the garage door grinds open again, revealing a shocked Becca, Hutch is standing amidst the unconscious bodies, looking only slightly ruffled. A bit like he's just finished a particularly energetic spin class. Just taking out the trash, he mutters, wiping a smudge of grease from his cheek. Clearly, he's back in business, and business is booming. After the impromptu garage-based aerobics class, Becca, understandably, isn't exactly thrilled. The sight of several unconscious individuals scattered amongst the lawnmowers tends to put a damper on conjugal bliss. She confronts Hutch in the living room, her voice low but firm, the unspoken question again, hanging heavy in the air. The faint smell of ozone and something metallic still lingers, a grim reminder of the recent skirmish. She's not angry, not exactly, but her face is etched with a familiar, deep worry. Hutch, the kids, our life, she pleads, gesturing vaguely around their seemingly normal home. The children, bless their oblivious hearts, are upstairs, still wrapped in the innocent ignorance of childhood. Hutch, for his part, looks conflicted. The sounds of their voices, the everyday rhythm of their lives, are what he's been fighting to protect. He reaches for her hand, his touch reassuringly firm. I know, I'll handle it. I'm not letting them touch us, he promises, his voice a low growl of determination. But the glint in his eye tells another story. He's not just going to handle it, he's going to dismantle it, brick by bloody brick. He knows that to truly protect his family, he can't just play defense. He has to go on the offensive. The ticking clock of the mysterious pocket watch seems to be getting louder, in his head, urging him to action, to reclaim the peace that was so rudely snatched away, later that evening. In a moment that could have been ripped straight from a silent film, Hutch is at the kitchen sink, meticulously cleaning a small, wickedly sharp knife. It's not for chopping vegetables, that much is clear. The gentle scrape of the blade against the scouring pad is the only sound. Blake, Hutch's son, walks in, a glass of water in hand. He pauses, his gaze locking onto his father. There's no fear in Blake's eyes, only a quiet, almost unsettling understanding. He's seen his dad in action, seen the old Hutch, and it seems to have resonated with him in a way Becca can only fear. The subtle shift in Blake's posture, the way his eyes track his father's movements, suggests he's not just observing, he's learning. Hutch catches his son's eye, a flicker of guilt and regret crossing his face. He wants to shield Blake from this world, but the boy is already peering over the fence, drawn by the forbidden spectacle. The silence between them is thick, a shared secret hanging in the air. It's a moment that speaks volumes without a single word, highlighting the complicated legacy Hutch is unwittingly passing on. He gives Blake a small, almost imperceptible nod, a silent acknowledgement of the path they both know he's on. The future of the Mansell family, it seems, won't be quite so ordinary after all. The clink of the glass as Blake sets it down is the only thing breaking the spell, a mundane sound against a deeply meaningful moment. When things get truly pear-shaped, Hutch knows there's only one man to call who genuinely understands what it means to be retired from a life of extreme violence. His dad, David. They meet in a diner that looks like it hasn't been updated since the Eisenhower administration, complete with sticky menus and the faint smell of stale coffee. David, ever the dapper senior citizen, is already there, nursing a lukewarm cup. Looks like someone's been kicking anthills again. Son, David says, or I smile playing on his lips, though his eyes are serious. Hutch lays out the situation, the details of the crucible, the escalating threats. David listens, nodding occasionally, the crinkle on his eyes suggesting years of similar experiences. The clatter of plates from the kitchen seems to punctuate their grim conversation. They're called the Watchers by some, David reveals, his voice barely a whisper. An ancient order, older than the syndicates. They keep the balance, or so they say. They don't take kindly to rogue elements, especially ones who blow up their rivals' assets with gleeful abandon. David, ever the supportive patriarch, offers to call in some favors, to mobilize his own retirement community, which, let's be honest, probably means a bunch of octogenarians with more firepower than a small army. The idea of a nursing home full of trained assassins is both hilarious and terrifying. The scraping of a chair as a waitress walks by briefly breaks the tension, but it quickly resettles, heavy and resolute. Hutch knows he's not alone in this fight, and that, for a man like him, makes all the difference. David's intel, as always, is gold. He pointed Hutch towards a grimy, dimly lit tattoo parlor tucked away in a part of the city where even the streetlights seemed a bit nervous. From across the street, Hutch observes, a silent predator in a world of unwary prey. The neon sign above the parlor flickers erratically, casting an ominous glow. And there it is, subtle but unmistakable, a stylized version of the Crucible's insignia, etched into the grimy glass of the door. Not exactly subtle for a secret society, but then again, these guys clearly have a flair for the dramatic. The scent of stale cigarettes and something faintly metallic seems to waft across the street, even from his distance. He watches the comings and goings, the parade of intimidating figures, each one looking like they could bench press a small car. This isn't just a place for questionable ink. It's a front, a meeting point, a funnel for information. He notices a particular individual, heavily tattooed, with a nervous twitch in his eye, always looking over his shoulder. This guy is either paranoid, or he knows something significant. Hutch decides it's time to pay a visit, not for a tribal sleeve, but for some information extraction. He knows the conversation won't be polite, nor will it involve a pleasant anesthetic. The metallic clang of a nearby dumpster lid closing seems to seal his decision, a premonition of the rough night ahead. Late at night, when even the rats are asleep, Hutch makes his move. The tattoo parlor is closed, but not secure enough for someone with Hutch's particular skill set. The creak of a fire escape ladder, the soft thump as he lands, and then the almost imperceptible click of a lock picking. It's a symphony of stealth. He moves through the darkened shop like a phantom. The buzzing of a single fluorescent light in the back offers the only guide. Two burly guards, clearly not expecting visitors, are quickly and efficiently neutralized with a series of muffled thuds and swift, precise strikes. One ends up face first in a tray of tattoo ink, which, let's be honest, he probably deserved for falling asleep on the job. Hutch finds his nervous target, the heavily tattooed man, cowering in a back room, probably counting his ill-gotten gains. The man jumps, letting out a yelp that's quickly stifled by Hutch's firm grip. "We can do this the easy way, or the way where I rearrange your bone structure into a modern art exhibit," Hutch states, his voice calm but laced with steel. The man, clearly terrified, quickly spills what he knows, a location, a meeting point for a high-ranking watcher known as the curator. The scent of antiseptic and fear fills the small room. The soft whirring of the tattoo machines, now silent, seem to mock the man's predicament. Hutch extracts the information, leaving the man just conscious enough to remember the message: "Don't mess with the retired guy." The gentle thud as he drops the man back into his chair is the final punctuation mark on this rather informative conversation. The intel leads Hutch to a suspiciously pristine, minimalist modern art gallery, exactly the kind of place where you'd expect a villain to hide out, probably because they think nobody would ever suspect it. It's all stark whites, sharp angles, and what look like deconstructed paper clips being passed off as profound statements. The curator, a man whose taste in violence is clearly as refined as his taste in questionable art, has turned this gallery into a deadly playground. The sculptures, Hutch quickly realizes, aren't just for looking at. They're either cleverly disguised weapons, elaborate traps, or both. A particularly spiky metal piece that resembles a giant hedgehog suddenly swings out, missing Hutch by inches. It's like a deadly game of the floor is lava, but with artistic flair. He navigates the gallery, the soft scuff of his shoes on the polished concrete the only sound in the otherwise silent death trap. Laser grids crisscross pathways, pressure plates are hidden beneath abstract rugs, and even a fountain is rigged to spray acid. The clatter of a falling vase, accidentally knocked, echoes ominously, alerting unseen guards. He moves with a dancer's grace, dodging, weaving, and utilizing the art to his advantage. A sharp, metallic clang indicates a close call, but Hutch is always one step ahead. It's an elegant, brutal ballet of violence and cunning, proving that Hutch Mansell can turn even a pretentious art exhibit into a high-stakes combat zone. Clearly, the curator underestimated his guests' appreciation for creative destruction. After a delightful tour of the curator's creative death traps, Hutch finally corners the man himself. The curator, an impeccably dressed individual with an almost serene calm, stands amidst his shattered art, looking less bothered by the destruction and more annoyed by the disruption. A single, dramatic spotlight highlights their confrontation, as if they're on a stage. "Mr. Mansell," the curator says, his voice smooth as silk, "you truly are an anachronism, a blunt instrument in a world of scalpels." Hutch, wiping a smudge of art-infused blood from his face, just grunts. "And you're a pretentious snob with a bad hobby." The curator, unperturbed, explains the Crucible's mission. They maintain a global balance, preventing any one entity from gaining too much power. Hutch, by dismantling the Russian syndicate so publicly, upset this delicate equilibrium. Now, a shadowy consortium of ultra-rich elites, dubbed the Sovereign, is exploiting the chaos, aiming to create their own world order. The curator sees Hutch as a necessary evil, a tool to be used or removed. The soft whirring of an unseen ventilation system seems to amplify the tension. The curator then reveals the true target, a powerful artifact, an obelisk key, which the Sovereign believes will give them absolute control over global communications. The sound of Hutch's knuckles cracking as he clenches his fist is the only answer the curator gets. This isn't just about Hutch anymore. It's about preventing a worldwide catastrophe, and naturally, he's the guy who gets stuck with the job. So, it turns out the obelisk key isn't just sitting in a dusty museum. It's being auctioned off to the highest bidder at a black market event so exclusive, Your credit card would probably self-destruct just trying to get an invite. Hutch, ever the master of disguise, though his disguise usually involves punching people until they forget what he looks like, has to actually go full James Bond light. He's in a tailored suit, looking every bit the sophisticated, slightly menacing billionaire, blending seamlessly with the global elite. The opulence of the venue is almost blinding. Glittering chandeliers, champagne flutes clinking, and the hushed murmurs of the truly ruthless discussing their next hostile takeover. But Hutch isn't there for the canapes. He's there to swipe a very dangerous piece of alien tech, or whatever this obelisk key actually. He glides through the crowd, a silent predator among the moneyed sharks, his eyes scanning for weaknesses, for entry points. The soft rustle of expensive fabrics and the low hum of conversation barely register as he focuses on his objective. He sees agents of the sovereign everywhere, identifiable by their subtle, almost imperceptible earpieces and their utterly humorless expressions. It's like a deadly game of Where's Wally? But Wally has a license to kill. The soft click of a hidden camera activating confirms his suspicion. This place is a fortress, but Hutch has never been one to shy away from a good challenge. He's here to crash the party, quite literally. As the bidding for the obelisk key reaches ludicrous sums, probably enough to buy a small country, or at least a very fancy cat, Hutch decides it's time to introduce a little theatricality, not one for subtlety, but surprisingly, he uses a controlled, non-lethal explosion, proving he can be delicate when he wants to. A sudden, sharp thump followed by a burst of smoke and a shower of harmless glitter erupts on the other side of the room. It's pure chaos. Screams, gasps, and the sudden clamor of expensive shoes scrambling for the exits fill the opulent hall. Guards, surprisingly flustered, rush towards the distraction. This, of course, is Hutch's cue. The sound of shattering glass and frantic shouts covers his movements perfectly. He moves like a blur, sidestepping panicked socialites and bewildered guards, making a direct line for the reinforced display case holding the glowing, ominous obelisk key. The air is thick with smoke and the metallic tang of fear. The sovereign's agents, much to their credit, are quicker to react, realizing the diversion for what it is. Shots begin to ring out, but Hutch is already past them, his focus singular. He's not here to socialize. He's here to liberate some dangerous tech. The frantic dinging of the security alarm is now a constant, shrill companion, but it's just background noise to Hutch, a symphony of his own making. With the obelisk key now firmly in his possession, and probably raising some questions about his taste in accessories, Hutch does what any sensible person would do. He leaps out a window. Well, not just any window, but one leading to a series of conveniently placed rooftops. The wind whips past his face, the cool night air a sharp contrast to the heated chaos he just left. He's clambering across ledges, vaulting over ventilation units, and making impossible jumps, a true urban ninja in a nice suit. Below him, the gritty city streets buzz with the sounds of sirens and frustrated shouts. The sovereign's agents, far less graceful but equally determined, are hot on his heels. They're less parkour experts and more determined brutes, crashing through obstacles rather than gracefully avoiding them. The thud of their landings is much heavier than Hutch's almost silent movements. He drops into an alleyway, narrowly avoiding a hail of bullets that ricochet off the brickwork with sharp ping sounds. The smell of exhaust fumes and damp concrete is thick in the air. He weaves through crowded markets, a blur of motion, causing carts to overturn and vendors to shout in dismay. It's a beautifully choreographed dance of evasion and chaos, proving that Hutch, even when burdened with an alien trinket, can still outrun, outthink, and outmaneuver pretty much anyone. He's not just running, he's orchestrating, guiding his pursuers into predictable bottlenecks where he can further throw them off his scent. The distant wail of police sirens only adds to the cacophony, a fitting soundtrack to his daring escape, after a chase that would make most Olympic athletes reconsider their career choices. Hutch finally finds a moment of respite in a motel room so dingy, it probably comes with its own resident ghost. The wallpaper is peeling, The carpet looks like a crime scene, and the pervasive smell of forgotten dreams hangs heavy in the air. But it's safe, for now. He pulls out the obelisk key, placing it on the bedside table. It pulses with a soft, ethereal blue light, humming with an almost imperceptible energy. It feels ancient, powerful, and utterly out of place in this grimy setting. He examines it, turning it over in his hands, feeling the intricate carvings under his calloused fingers. The light reflects in his eyes, a flicker of awe mixed with profound concern. He understands the immense power it represents, the terrifying control it could give the sovereign. The quiet hum of the air conditioning unit is the only sound, providing a stark contrast to the global stakes of the object before him. He's not just a man trying to protect his family anymore. He's a pivotal figure in a looming geopolitical crisis. This isn't just about punching goons. It's about altering the course of human history, and he, Mr. Nobody, is holding the ultimate hot potato. He takes a deep, ragged breath, the weight of the world temporarily settling on his broad shoulders. The path ahead is unclear, but one thing is certain. There's no going back to normal after this. Hutch knows he's out of his depth with advanced alien tech, so he calls in the big guns, or rather, the big brains, his brother Harry. Harry, in his own charmingly chaotic workshop, which looks like a mad scientist's garage sale, hooks up the obelisk key to a Frankenstein-esque of computers. Wires snake everywhere, monitors flicker with incomprehensible data, and the soft whirring of cooling fans fills the room. It's a testament to Harry's genius, or his complete disregard for electrical safety regulations. All right, let's see what this glorified paperweight actually does, Harry mutters, his fingers flying across multiple keyboards. The key, once connected, glows brighter, its hum becoming more pronounced, a subtle thrum vibrating through the workbench. Data streams across the screens, a dizzying array of symbols and algorithms. Fascinating, Harry breathes, a mischievous glint in his eye. This isn't just a key, Hutch. It's a universal remote for the internet. It can disrupt, reroute, or completely shut down global communication networks. Imagine the chaos, the power. It's like a supersized EMP, but for data. The implications are terrifying. The sovereign doesn't just want power. They want absolute and challengeable control. The beep of a nearby diagnostic tool seems to underscore the immense danger. Hutch listens, his face grim. The stakes have officially gone from protecting the homestead to saving the entire damn world. Just another Tuesday for Mr. Mansell, apparently. Meanwhile, David, proving that age is just a number when you've got a lifetime of lethal skills, is mobilizing his own special forces. His command center, a bingo hall. I mean, where else do you find such an incredible network of seemingly innocuous individuals? The folding tables are now covered with maps, blueprints, and classified documents, instead of bingo cards. The air is thick with the smell of strong coffee and the quiet murmur of strategic planning, a far cry from the usual B7. David, looking surprisingly spry, addresses his crew of seasoned veterans. They're all elderly, but their eyes are sharp, their movements economical, and their collective experience in clandestine operations probably dwarfs most modern armies. They're like a deadly ARP. The sovereign's ultimate target is clear, David explains, pointing to a holographic map of a heavily fortified location. They're consolidating their forces, preparing for a global shutdown, the thump of a fist hitting the table in agreement, the quiet click of a safety being disengaged. These are the sounds of a very senior, very dangerous, very motivated team. David's network might not be young, but they're incredibly resourceful, each bringing a unique, often antiquated, but still lethal, skill set to the table. This is the definition of old school cool, a testament to the fact that some things, like a good old-fashioned tactical assault, only get better with age. And now, they're ready to show the sovereign that you don't mess with their retirement plans. With the combined might of Harry's tech wizardry and David's extensive network, they pinpoint the sovereign's main operational base. It's not a cozy little office park. Oh no, it's a massive, highly fortified underground complex, hidden beneath what looks like an abandoned industrial zone. Because, obviously, if you're going to try and take over the world, you do it from a place that looks like a rejected Bond villain lair. Harry pulls up satellite imagery, displaying the complex on a massive screen. It's an imposing fortress, bristling with advanced defenses, laser grids, motion sensors, automated turrets, and enough armed guards to host a small war. The soft hum of the servers in Harry's lab seems to intensify, as if even the computers are intimidated. They've got multiple layers of security, Harry explains, zooming in on various pressure points. Underground access tunnels, aerial defense, even a rumored underwater entrance. It's designed to be impenetrable. Hutch just stares at the screen, a grim determination setting in. Impenetrable, huh? He mutters, a dangerous glint in his eye. Sounds like a challenge. The clack of Harry typing rapidly, pulling up schematics, is the only sound, a stark contrast to the impending chaos. They're looking at a full-blown assault, a frontal charge against a global power, and the odds, as usual, are stacked against Hutch. But then again, he thrives on those odds. The only thing more dangerous than Hutch Mansell is Hutch Mansell with a clear objective and a very bad mood. This isn't just a family outing. It's a full-blown, save dash the dash world dash and dash probably dash get dash shot dash a dash few dash times kind of affair. Hutch, Harry, and David are gearing up in a makeshift armory, which looks suspiciously like Harry's garage. The metallic clink of tactical vests being donned, the soft click of magazines being loaded into various firearms, it's a symphony of impending destruction. Hutch meticulously checks his arsenal, a familiar comfort, and the weight of a well-balanced firearm. Harry, ever the gadget man, is strapping on what looks like a modified taser gun and a handful of smoke grenades, probably for creating tactical chaos. David, meanwhile, is polishing an antique revolver, a relic from his own glory days, a knowing smirk on his face. Just like old times, eh boys? David quips, his voice surprisingly steady. The smell of gun oil and stale garage air fills the space, a potent mixture of nostalgia and impending danger. There's a quiet camaraderie between the three of them, an unspoken understanding of the sacrifices they're about to make. This isn't just about family, it's about a shared purpose, a bond forged in fire and bullets. The gentle thwack of a practice swing from Hutch with a crowbar, just testing its weight, is a subtle reminder of the brutal efficiency they all possess. They share a final, determined look, each man knowing the immense odds, but equally certain of their resolve. They're ready to walk into the lion's den, and they're bringing their own teeth. Their entry point, a series of forgotten, claustrophobic underground tunnels. Because nothing says covert operation like crawling through a sewer, right? The air is thick with the smell of damp earth and something vaguely metallic. The only sounds are the soft scuff of their boots on the muddy ground and their hushed whispers. Hutch leads the way, a silent shadow in the oppressive darkness, his senses on high alert. Harry, surprisingly agile for a man of his build, follows closely, his eyes darting, constantly scanning. David, ever the veteran, brings up the rear, his movements economical and precise. They encounter their first security patrol. Two heavily armed guards, oblivious to the danger, are quickly and silently neutralized. The muffled thwack of a bat, the soft whoosh of a garrote wire, and then the quiet thud as bodies hit the ground. No alarms, no fuss, just pure, brutal efficiency. It's like watching a perfectly synchronized ballet of violence. The cold, dank air of the tunnels seems to amplify the tension. Each step is calculated, each breath held. They're deep behind enemy lines, surrounded by unknown threats, but their resolve is unwavering. The soft click of Hutch's flashlight beam cutting through the gloom briefly illuminates a chilling area of wires and sensors, a reminder of the intricate defenses they're facing. Therein, and the Sovereign is about to learn that some retired individuals are far from harmless, while Hutch and David are busy introducing Sovereign agents to the concept of unplanned naps. Harry is doing what he does best, making technology his absolute DH. They find the central control room. A sterile, futuristic hub bristling with monitors. The problem? It's also bristling with very angry, very armed guards. Harry, with a surprising burst of speed, ducks behind a console, pulling out his custom hacking rig. He's under heavy fire, bullets pinging off the metallic surfaces around him, but he's utterly focused. The sound of rapid-fire key presses and the frantic beeping of his hacking device mix with the thwack of Hutch's fists connecting with faces outside. Sparks fly from the console as Harry jams in his custom hardware, his fingers a blur across the keyboard. Almost there, he mutters, a vein throbbing in his forehead. He's overriding their entire security grid, turning their own defenses against them. Doors slam shut on pursuing guards, automated turrets suddenly swivel and fire on their own troop soups, and holographic maps of the complex light up with friendly fire incidents. The whoosh of a plasma blast narrowly misses his head, but Harry doesn't flinch. He lets out a triumphant shout as the main security grid flashes red, then green. Systems offline. Go, 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 he yells, wiping sweat from his brow. Hutch, hearing the change in the chaotic symphony of battle, gives a grim nod. Harry's done his part. Now it's time for the real fun to begin. The metallic screech of a distant automated door opening is the sound of opportunity, with Harry's tech wizardry doing its thing. It's David's turn to shine, and by shine, I mean blow things up with a glorious, old-school flair. While Hutch makes his way towards the main vault, David executes a textbook diversion. He's expertly placed a series of charges in a less critical, but highly visible, section of the base, probably the cafeteria, because nothing causes more uproar than messing with mealtime. The first explosion is a dull thud, followed by a series of progressively louder booms, echoing through the complex. Fireballs erupt, smoke billows, and the sudden, cacophonous roar of twisting metal and shattering glass fills the air. It's a beautiful symphony of destruction, designed to draw every single armed guard away from Hutch's path. That'll get their attention, David mutters, a satisfied grin on his face as he watches the chaos unfold on a small monitor. He's like a conductor, guiding the orchestra of mayhem. The frantic shouts of guards, the blaring of alarms, and the distant crunch of debris falling, it's all music to his ears. This isn't just a distraction. It's a statement, a reminder that even the old guys can bring the fireworks. And just like that, the bulk of the Sovereign's forces are scrambling towards the sound of the party, leaving Hutch a surprisingly clear path to his objective. This is what happens when you combine brute force with decades of experience, sheer, unadulterated chaos, precisely executed, through the chaos of explosions and automated turrets firing at their own side. Hutch finally reaches the central vault. It's not some ancient stone chamber. Oh no, this is pure, unadulterated high-tech villainy, gleaming metal, pulsating lights, and a central pedestal where the obelisk key is meant to be activated. And there he is, the architect, the enigmatic, chillingly calm leader of the Sovereign, a man who looks more like a Silicon Valley CEO than a global supervillain. He stands poised before the pedestal, his fingers hovering over the activation sequence, a smirk playing on his lips. Mr. Mansell, the architect purrs, without even turning around, right on time for the grand finale. Your little fireworks display was rather pedestrian. Hutch, breathing heavily from the sprint, just grunts, his eyes locked onto the obelisk key. The air crackles with tension, almost a palpable zzzt sound. This isn't just a fight. It's a race against time, a direct confrontation with the man who wants to reset the entire global order. The subtle hum of the vault's sophisticated systems, the glowing lines on the floor, all amplify the high stakes of the moment. The architect, clearly unconcerned by Hutch's arrival, seems to revel in his imminent victory. But he's made one crucial mistake. He's underestimated the sheer stubbornness of a man who just wants to go home and watch some TV. And now, Hutch is about to show him that pedestrian can still pack a devastating punch. The architect, despite his pristine suit and intellectual demeanor, isn't just a pretty face with a god complex. He reveals surprising combat skills, proving that even CEOs of nefarious organizations apparently have time for martial arts training. He moves with a deceptive speed and precision, each strike calculated, each block firm. It's a brutal ballet of close-quarters combat, the thwack of punches echoing in the high-tech vault. The flashing lights of the vault's control panels cast eerie shadows, creating a disorienting, intense atmosphere. Hutch, battered but unbowed, matches him blow for blow, his movements driven by pure, primal instinct. The metallic clang of a nearby panel, inadvertently struck, rings out sharply. The architect isn't just fighting to kill, he's fighting to win, to activate the obelisk key and assert his vision of a new world order. He's taunting Hutch, pushing his buttons, trying to break his resolve. You're just a relic, Mansell, a blunt instrument in a world of precision. He sneers as a kick narrowly misses Hutch's head. But Hutch, with a guttural roar, reminds him that blunt instruments can still do an awful lot of damage. He takes a hit, stumbles, but then surges forward, fueled by the thought of his family, of the quiet life he's fighting to preserve. This is it, the crescendo, the moment everything hangs in the balance. The desperate grunt as Hutch delivers a crushing blow, the sharp crack of bone. This is the raw, visceral sound of a man fighting for everything he believes in, after what felt like an eternity of brutal punches, desperate dodges, and enough grunting to power a small farm. Hutch finally gains the upper hand. The architect, bruised and broken but still defiant, lies slumped against a console, defeated. But the fight isn't over yet. The obelisk key, still humming ominously on its pedestal, is mere seconds from full activation. Hutch, every muscle screaming in protest, scrambles towards it. The beep 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 of the countdown timer is deafening. He grabs the key, its strange energy pulsing against his skin, and with a final, desperate surge of strength, he slams it down against the pedestal. The sound is a deafening crack, followed by a shower of sparks and a high-pitched whine as the device shatters. The ethereal blue light flickers, then dies, plunging the vault into a sudden and settling silence. The hum of the vault systems instantly changes, shifting from a sinister thrum to a dull, harmless whir. The weight of potential global catastrophe lifts. He's done it. The obelisk key is destroyed, its power neutralized, its threat averted. He collapses to his knees, utterly spent, the pain of his injuries finally catching up. The metallic scent of ozone lingers in the air. The faint, distant sounds of Harry and David finishing up their cleanup operations are the only comfort. He's saved the world, but it feels like he's paid a heavy price. As the dust settles, literally, because the architect's security system is apparently designed for dramatic self-destructs, Harry and David arrive. They find Hutch, looking like he's just gone 10 rounds with a particularly angry wrecking ball, amidst the wreckage of the vault. The crumble of collapsing debris, the screech of twisting metal. The base is not long for this world. Looks like you had fun, Harry quips, his usual sarcasm a welcome return. Did you at least get a souvenir? David, ever the practical one, quickly assesses Hutch's injuries. We need to move, now, he urges, supporting Hutch as they make their way out. The trio navigates the rapidly deteriorating base, dodging falling girders and cascading debris, the thump of each heavy impact a reminder of their urgency. They narrowly escape the main complex just as a final, massive explosion tears through it, leaving nothing but a smoking crater. The Sovereign is dismantled, its leader captured, or at least severely incapacitated, and its global threat nullified. The obelisk key is gone, and with it, the potential for ultimate control. They've tied up all the loose ends, leaving only a lingering sense of exhaustion and a quiet satisfaction. The metallic tang of explosion residue hangs in the air, a reminder of the night's brutal work. The soft whoosh of their getaway vehicle speeding away into the dawn symbolizes a precarious new beginning, leaving the destruction in their wake. Weeks later, Hutch is back in his suburban fortress, albeit a bit more bandaged than usual. He's sitting on his porch swing, a cup of coffee in hand, watching his children play in the yard. The sound of their laughter, the gentle whoosh of the swing, the distant chirping of birds, It's the domestic symphony he fought so hard to preserve. He's still got a limp, and probably a few new scars to add to his collection. But there's a sense of weary peace about him. Becca joins him, resting her head on his shoulder. There's no need for words. The unspoken understanding between them is profound. They know this normal is fragile, that the world Hutch inhabits will always be one step away from chaos. But they also know they face it together. He's still Mr. Nobody, but now, perhaps, he's also Mr. Somebody, a man who has truly found his purpose, even if it's a violently inconvenient one. The soft rustle of leaves in the breeze, the distant bark of a dog, these small, everyday sounds are now cherished. The old life is gone, replaced by a new normal where the threat of global catastrophe is always just a phone call away. But as long as his family is safe, Hutch Mansell will be ready. The faint click of the swing chain reminds him that even in peace, vigilance is always required. He's found his equilibrium, a balance between the quiet family man and the brutal auditor. And for now, that's enough. As the sun begins to set, casting long shadows across his perfectly manicured lawn, Hutch stands on his porch, looking out at the horizon. The vibrant hues of orange and purple paint the sky, a beautiful, almost serene backdrop to the violent life he now fully embraces. There's a subtle glint in his eye, not of regret, but of acceptance. He knows his retirement was always a fleeting dream, a temporary reprieve. The world needs an auditor, someone willing to do the dirty work, to balance the scales when no one else will. The distant sound of a train whistle, a melancholy, lingering note, seems to echo his realization. He's no longer just a family man who sometimes fights. He's a protector, a force of nature, a necessary evil in a world teetering on the brink. His path is clear, his purpose redefined. The comfort of his family, the peace of his home, these are the anchors, but the currents of the underworld will always pull him back. He may be nobody, but his impact is undeniable, his legacy etched in the broken bones of villains and the relieved sighs of the innocent. He takes a deep breath, the crisp evening air filling his lungs, and a quiet strength settles over him. The world is a dangerous place, but as long as Hutch Mansell is around, there's always a chance for a little cleanup. He's ready for whatever comes next, because some men aren't meant for quiet lives. They're meant for making noise, even if it's the deafening silence after an explosion. He is the quiet storm, perpetually ready to unleash his fury when injustice calls. His journey continues, a testament to resilience and an unwavering commitment to his own brutal brand of justice. It's a compelling thought, really. His hands, though scarred, are ready, and we, the audience, are here for every bone-crunching moment. The soft click of the porch light turning on marks the beginning of another evening, and potentially another adventure for our beloved Mr. Mansell.